AutoCAD relies on proper scaling to achieve accuracy. A scale of 1:100 means that 1 unit in your drawing or paper is equal to 100 units of the actual object. For example, 1 millimeter in your drawing will be equivalent to 100 millimeter of that actual object that you have drawn. If your scale is 1:10, it means that 1 millimeter in your drawing is equivalent to 10 millimeter in the actual object. So for our floor plan, let's say this floor plan was made using a scale of 1:100. So for our text placement, we need to rely on a proper text. A typical text height is usually 2 millimeters. Now to achieve a proper scale, we need to multiply that value of 2 millimeters with the scale of your drawing. So for our floor plan, we place a scale of 1:100. We need to multiply the value of 2 by 100 to achieve a text height of 200. When placing a text, we can use the command mtext or we can click on our text icon. If I type in the command mtext, it will ask me to specify a first corner. Then I have several options below it for height, justify, and other options. If I choose height, I can type in h or click the word height. H, enter. It is going now to ask me for the text height, so I type in 200, enter, and I click the other corner. I can now specify the word that I wish to place. So let's say entrance. Then click outside. Then you have now placed a text in your drawing. Now this text can be moved by clicking on the grip points. And the text can also be matched with your corresponding elements. I can change the corresponding layer by changing it under the layers option. Or I can use the match command using MA, enter, click on the object, and clicking on my text. The justification for my text can be modified under the properties palette. So if I type in the command PR or properties, enter, and I click on the object, there is a justify option under your text options. So in here, I can choose top center or other sub options that I wish to place my text. I can also modify the text height. So if I type in there 250, which means it will now have a height of 2.5 millimeters when printed. Enter. If we choose to use this value, I can simply match this one with the other text. Then those text height will also adjust. The extent of your text is controlled by your grip points. Let's say I select this text. There are these triangular options or grips that I can stretch to adjust the extent of my text. If I extend the grip point, then my text can be stretched to that box. If I compress it, it automatically adjusts to the corresponding fit. Before placing dimension in AutoCAD, make sure that you have your proper dimension style. So type in the command dim style. You have now your dimension style manager, and there are two options to choose from, your annotative and standard. Let us first try to work with standard. Choose new, then type in for the appropriate scale. Make sure that it is still in standard and annotative is unchecked. Click on continue. Under your new dimension style for 1:100, I am now going to set up everything so that the value that I am going to place is equivalent to a millimeter unit in my drawing plane. For example, I can type in 1 as a base for all my appropriate values. Then for the color, I can choose by layer. Same is true with the line type and the corresponding line weight. Extension lines. Same is true with your symbols and arrows. I can choose the appropriate arrow style. Let's try to use this default. Arrow size, let's type in 1. Center marks 1. Break size 1. Text, I can type in 2mm in here. Make sure that it is still in standard. Choosing the appropriate display. I can actually customize now the font of my text. For the meantime, let's default into Arial. Text color, I can choose a different color. Let's say for our example, I can type in cyan. Or if you like, you can use the default layer. None. Text height 2. Text placement, you can adjust this one by choosing, let's say, above. And offset from dimension line, that one is the distance between your text and your dimension line. I can type in 1. Then location, and of course alignment. Left to right, centered. Then for alignment, we can choose align with dimension line. You can also notice the preview on this location. Then let's go to fit. I can now have in here either text or arrows, text placement. These customized values allows you to designate the proper fitting of your values. Now under this overall scale, 100. This one will match for 1:100 as a name for our new dimension style. Primary units, I can use decimal. Precision, I will remove the decimal from my millimeter values. So I set this one to a non-decimal value. Round off, scale factor, then alternate units, tolerances, then click on OK. You now have a new dimension style. Let's try now to use this dimension style. So we can activate now our dimension under our 1:100. So you still have your annotative and standard and the newly created dimension style that we have. Using that one as our active dimension style, I type in now the command DLI, enter, and place a corresponding dimension into my drawing. Since we have used a default value of 1mm, the extension in here is 1mm. The arrow size is also 1mm. Same is true on the other side. The offset from your dimension line is also 1mm. If you wish to modify these values, you simply type again the command dim style. And you can modify that value. Let's say you wish to change your arrows. I can change my arrow size to, let's try another style, the architectural tick. Let's see now the changes that is reflected. So you have now that new setup. Let's now try to create another dimension style. So type in the command dim style, then new. As our starting value, let's choose 1:100. Then let's try to create a dimension style for 1:50. And check for annotative, then all dimensions. Click on continue. Since we started with the 1:100 option, the default values that we have will still be the same. The only difference is under overall scale, I will now type the value 50. Okay. When placing dimension, I make sure that 1:50 is activated. I type in DLI. If you notice, the key difference is the size. It generates the same value, but the height of the text, the size of the arrows, is half of the dimension size of the 1:100 scale. The reasoning for this is once we set this one in our layouts, we will now have the appearance that is proportionate to the appropriate scale that we have placed. More of that in part 4. If your drawing plan is composed of different scales, you need to create different dimension styles for each of those scale drawings. For example, a scale of 1:100, you need to create a dimension style for 1:100. And a separate dimension style for, let's say, 1:10, you need to create a dimension style for 1:10. An alternative to that is to use annotative scaling. Under annotative scaling, you don't have to create additional dimension style because only a single dimension style will be used for different scales of drawings. To try that, let's type in the command dim style. Then we're going to start with annotative. Click on new. Make sure that you start with annotative. You type in the command or the name of your dimension style. Then under annotative, make sure that the box is checked. Continue. Then set it up just like the way that we do for standard scaling, whereby every single value is equivalent to millimeters. Set to by layer. Arrow size 1. Text height of 2 mm. Offset from dimension line. Then vertical placement above. Fit. Make sure that scale for dimension features have annotative checked. Under primary units, remove the decimal place. Then, okay. Make sure that you have your dimension style Anno activated. Upon placing now the dimension using the command DLI, make sure that your annotation scale of the current view is set to the corresponding scale that you wish to have. Let's say 1:100. I type in the command DLI. And automatically it is properly scaled to that drawing. If I choose a different scale, let's say 1:50, and I type in the command DLI, it automatically adjusts to the size of the scale of 1:100. If I choose again a different scale, let's say 1:10, and I place a dimension, the size of the dimension is proportionate now to a scale of 1:10, but the way it measures still your object is pretty much the same regardless of the dimension style that you're going to use. That's the key difference between your annotative and your standard scaling. The visibility of your annotative scaling can be controlled by clicking on your Show Annotation Objects, whereby it will only display the active annotative scale. So if I set this one to 1:100, It controls the visibility of all other annotative scales. However, this setup is not going to affect the appearance of standard scaling, as standard scaling does not rely on annotative scaling. There are other dimension options in AutoCAD. The most common is your DLI or dimension linear. Another one is dim aligned, or the shortcut is DAL. Enter, whereby it is used to dimension a diagonal line. Another one is dimension angular, where the shortcut is dim ang. It allows you to measure the dimension in terms of angle. Another one is dimension arc or dim arc. It allows you now to measure the dimension of an arc. Other options are also available, whereby you can use a click option to specify the dimension of an object. Labels and leaders can be placed in AutoCAD by using the command mleader. To modify the command mleader, type in mleader style and choose between annotative or standard. Let's try to create an mleader style for 1:100. Then continue. Under your leader format, you can choose the style and set it up just like the way that you set it up for your dimensions. Arrow size 2. Under leader structure, landing distance, let's set it to 1. Then specify scale, I type in 100. Under content, I adjust the text height to 2 mm. Landing gap is 1. And text style, I can choose the format or font. Then OK. I can place the leader using my icon, or I type in the command mleader. Click and drag, and then I type in the text that I wish to place in my AutoCAD drawing. To further access the several options in your mleader, you can go to Annotate, whereby you have further customization that are available for your mleader, dimensions, and text.